Coming to you live from a very, very, very spooky caravan. It's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host, Kevin Lennon. With me, as always, the haunted visage of John Ferris. John, how are you doing today?
I've stopped opening cupboards. Every cupboard you open, there's a small contorted child in.
Yeah, the worst one is the cupboard under the sink.
Yeah.
And that's where we keep a lot of our sort of cool cleaning products and whatnot. Yeah. So it's getting a little bit ripe in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little bit worried about the sink is blocked, and I had a wee look in there, and I think it's full of hair.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. I don't know if that's just normal or if that's ghosts, John. Is that ghosts?
It seems to be. It seems to be a very, very ghost-like thing. That and I don't know where all these ghosts get white face paint.
Oh,
that seems to also be linked.
I think they're provided with it right after they're hired, John. I think they're given a big bucket on it and it's like, right, use it sparingly, but here's a lot of it.
Use it sparingly, but a ghost has other things on their mind.
Indeed, yes. So, the terrible haunted caravan, John. How does one purge themselves of the stain of entering such a haunted place, John? How do we cleanse ourselves?
Very forced to try and include all three of these movies that we'll have to watch to help us.
Indeed. The stain of the haunted place, this haunted home, if you would. Not necessarily a haunted house.
No.
But a haunted home.
Haunted abode.
Speaking of three films, John, that's right. We have, weirdly, you must be in connection with the spirit realm yourself and they're feeding you information. We do have three films about haunted homes.
Yep.
We have from 2002, we have Takashi Shimizu's Jee-woon, The Grudge. Mm-hmm. Ooh, yes. Which, logline for that. A mysterious and vengeful spirit marks and pursues anybody who dares enter the house in which it resides.
Nice.
What a dick.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Then we have, from 2003, A Tale of Two Sisters, directed by Jee-woon Kim. Mm-hmm. Someone who we have... I was going to say had on the show before, but who's
that would be amazing.
Who's a film of whom we have watched and reviewed before.
Yeah. That would be amazing, but I'd love that he wouldn't understand us and vice versa, and just be us kind of sitting in silence going, okay.
Yeah, we could say we had him on and he just didn't speak.
Yep. He forgot his translator got lost in traffic.
Yes, Jee-woon Kim, who directed, of course, I Saw the Devil that we reviewed, I don't know, a few months ago or a year. I don't remember how long that was.
Time is an illusion. Time
is meaningless, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about A Tale of Two Sisters from 2003. The logline for that, these loglines are all very short. A family is haunted by the tragedies of deaths within the family. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Then, from 2002 again, we have Dark Water, directed by one Hideo Nakata, someone else whose films we've looked at before, director of Ringu.
Yep.
Here. But Dark Water is about, let's see now, a mother and her 6-year-old daughter move into a creepy apartment whose every surface is permeated by water. Ooh, water, the scariest of substances for some people. As hydrophobes, I believe that's one of the things that you get whenever you're whenever you get rabies, John.
Oh,
just as a side note. Just as a side note, you know. just letting you know, John, that people with rabies are scared of water.
Is there a chance I'm getting rabies today?
Well, you never know. If you play your cards right.
Ooh.
So that being the case then, John, if you can contain your rabid nature for a few hours, we can sit down and we can watch these movies. All right. Well, I'm feeling terrified.
Yep.
By all the things. Crawling things and climbing things and
hair,
a lot of
hair,
John. There's a lot of hair.
Things just being where they shouldn't be, you know.
Yeah, like a cup, and then you turn around and you're like, "Where's my cup?" And you're like, "Why is it over there?" You know.
Although that happens to me anyway. That's probably just a sign of early onset dementia.
Indeed. That's true, John. That's exactly what that is. Yeah. The old you put it down on the counter and then you turn around and you're like, why is it on this shelf up here? And it's like, that's where the lady died. Ooh, or something, I don't know. But anyway, John, talking about that's where the lady died.
Nope.
We watched, of course, Takashi Shimizu's Jee-woon, The Grudge.
Yeah.
From 2002, which, of course, the log line for that, again, very short. A mysterious and vengeful spirit marks and pursues anybody who dares enter the house in which it resides.
Anybody, and then anyone who comes into contact with them is also in danger. It's this spirit is an absolute dickhead. It just like
I was gonna call it a wanker, but dickhead works better. I think this spirit's a dickhead.
I mean, it just kind of indiscriminate, as in it doesn't even begin to describe it. There's like there's a security guard who's literally just doing his job, who didn't even go into that house, and he ends up dead.
Yeah, what a dick. What a dick, John. So, in general, John, what did you think of Jee-woon, The Grudge?
I mean, you can see why this and The Ring were kind of the big G horror. We've talked before how we hate that term, but how
you mean J horror
or J horror? Why did I say G horror? Yay!
Because you're a G, John.
Ain't nothing but a G thing. J horror, and like how this and The Ring kind of really popularized that in the early 2000, the early noughts. And
people like to call it the naughties. I don't like that because it sounds stupid. But I guess that's sort of the accepted term.
Yeah.
But I like early 2000s because it means you don't have to say that word.
Yeah. And it also makes it sounds a bit more professional.
It sounds a bit more grown up.
Yeah.
Like horror movies. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a few issues with this movie, but I think overall it's really good, and there's really inventive and really clever scary moments in it that don't there are jump scares in it, but it doesn't rely on them.
No.
And some of the scariest moments are just the stuff we've talked about before. Like, one of the scary moments for me was when one of the characters is pushing an old man around in a wheelchair, and then you catch the ghost child in a reflection of the door.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying because the whole time you kind of know the ghost kid's about, because the old man's like playing peekaboo, which is creepy enough as it is. But then when you get that glimpse, you're like, oh, I just had this horrible feeling go up my spine.
Yeah, and the kid looks unpleasant as well. Whenever you see him in his ghosty form, you're like, oh, it's not grotesque, but he looks dead.
I actually remember it being scarier looking.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I haven't watched it since maybe like kind of the early 2000s maybe, and I remember being more like scared of it. Like, it kind of now was watching, I was like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, this movie I conflate in my head. There's actually this movie is technically a remake of a previous film by the same director.
Yes.
Jee-woon, The Curse. Which I'm going to say now, I do really like this.
This is actually the third installment, because there's Jee-woon, The Curse 2 as well.
Yeah, it's a bit fuzzy because Jee-woon, The Curse 2, the first like half hour of it is the last half hour of the previous film, which makes it weirdly blurry of like, is this actually a sequel or is this just what is going on? It's really weird.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I think Jee-woon, The Curse is better.
Oh, okay.
It's more creepy, and it delves into... You don't always need to do this, but I think in this particular case, it's actually really, really good. That it delves into the backstory more of why this place is haunted.
Yeah.
You get little snippets of it in this. In Jee-woon, The Curse, it goes into detail, and it's horrible, and it's very much, oh, I could see something like that happening, really actually causing if there was such a thing, psychological damage to a place.
Yeah.
It's messed up. And it's like, it does the same thing where it's like, you know, it follows particular groups of people where like their name comes up and then there'll be a thing. It's a bit more, I think I like Jee-woon the Curse more just because the way it's shot is very cinema verite, you know, very like real looking sort of.
Yeah.
In the original, this one does a wee bit of that where it's not doing fancy camera tricks or trying to distract you or playing a lot of music over it and stuff like that.
I mean, I would actually say those parts of the movie are just that, they're a distraction, and it does take you out of it more. Like as you say, like the camera like swinging around or like these odd close-ups, and I don't think it adds to it. I think that's one of the major flaws in the direction of this. Like, it's still very good, and but yeah, so it's been long. I haven't seen it, Jee-woon the Curse in a long time. I know I've seen it, but if it is like that, maybe that's the one I'm remembering the kid being a lot creepier in. Yeah,
it's there's a particular bit. There's two different parts in this that I would consider, like, when you say the bit on the stairs, and they are the most, for me, they're the most frightening parts of the film.
Yeah.
When something is taking its time, coming down some stairs, and I hate it, and it's great. In Jee-woon the Curse, there's a similar shot that I think is actually even more effective than the way they do it in this one, but it is still very good. But as I say, the stuff with the backstory is like they almost present this film as if you know that.
Yeah,
in a way,
which again is another feeling of it is
that
backstory could have been done with being fleshed out. There, it touches on it at the start almost. It's just kind of in the title credits, isn't it? Really, it's just kind of hinted at. It's never really
get little flashes of. There's a part where someone is confronted with a ghost, and then they're like sort of almost like confronting it, and then it becomes someone else who's involved in it, and they're talking to themselves, and you kind of get a hint there of what happened, of the things that they're saying, but ultimately it doesn't really talk about it. But I think you've said this, the thing I like about this film and the ghost behavior, let's say, in this film, is it's something you've addressed before on other podcasts that we've been talking about, where the arbitrary nature of the Grudge is what makes it frightening.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of other horror films, you get people who are like shown to be like rubbish in some way or assholes or something, and then they get their comeuppance. Whereas in this film,
you're rooting for the ghost almost.
Yeah, whereas in this film, it's like all you did was you went into the wrong house.
Not even that. It's like there's literally care workers who are going in to help an old woman. Yeah. And they're the ones getting targeted, and then their families, and then their sisters, and then like a cop who came in because someone reported a dead body. And like you're just sitting there going, this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, it's terrible. But I mean, it is part of sort of it is a Japanese folkloric thing.
Yeah.
I mean, drawing from.
Another thing I like is that it draws a lot from like a different kind of Japanese like urban legends and things like that. There's like the girl in the gaps is an urban legend they have, where it's this like demon or ghost and that finds its way into our world through like small gaps in our reality, which is like the girl when she comes up through the blankets and stuff like that, and finding these like places that people can't get into. That's where the girl in the gap gets in. There's something really frightening about that you're not safe in like a confined space. Is actually almost worse because that's what she loves.
Yeah, but going to hide somewhere is maybe making yourself a target.
Yeah, and
all right.
I think that stuff's very effective, and I like. I mean, there's so much urban legend stuff and folklore tales and all that are frightening anyway, that all anyone needs to do is really delve back into history of like folklore and urban legends, and you have a wealth of material for a horror movie or any movie, really.
Absolutely. I mean, it happens all the time. People do that. Yeah, and then, but yeah, you're always fascinated when you see like a horror film. And you're like, this is shit and not clever at all.
Yeah.
And there's actually a bunch of stuff you could have just went and borrowed from in a way that like would have made this way more interesting. But no, it's just a man stabbing people. Yay! Not that I don't like those films sometimes, but. Yeah, there's something about like there's a lot of stuff in Japanese folklore which is I find very effective, and they use it the same way. We're probably going to talk about it in a wee bit as well later on.
Mm-hmm.
There's the long-haired pale woman.
It's a cliche at this point. Like it is.
Yeah, it has, but it's an actual named ghost in Japanese folklore. I can't remember what it's called, but that is a specific ghost, and that was drawn on like something like Ringu. Has that. That's what Ringu was inspired by. But like, what would a ghost like this do in modern times with modern technology? Well, modern to 1999. You know, and even then it's with bait out technology because DVDs were coming out then, and she's attached to a video in Ringu. But yeah, there's the long dark-haired ghost in this, and
she's lucky she didn't make the mistake of going Betamax.
Yeah, nobody ever
You're
would
obsolete.
have seen her. Oh yeah, that would have been very foolish. But yes, I like how this film is structured. Sometimes it's confusing, time frame wise, where you're wait, is this after the thing we just saw, or before it, or at the same time, and how long has this person had? Like, there's the car worker that you were talking about, Rika.
Yeah.
There's a point where it goes back to her at a later point, and it's not necessarily clear how long it has been since she was there and how she's doing, and like whether it's actually like a day later or something, or maybe it feels like it should be like months later, but maybe it's actually not. It's like a day or two later, and you're like, I don't know about that, but you kind of just let that go. Yeah. Well, I let that go.
I mean, it's kind of very early on. It seems that the ghost is like, it just arbitrarily decides, I'll let you live a bit longer. I'll let you. Like, there's no. It's not like the Ringu ghost who's on a very tight deadline.
She has a fucking timetable, and she is going to stick to it whether you like it or not.
You know, I want my ghost to be efficient. This ghost is a wee bit, you know, I think like flexi time on it, because you know, the Grudge ghost lets the old woman live for quite a while. You know, she's almost like as a as a lure to get people to come, so it can go, right, I'm going to fuck up more people this way, you know. There seems to be a bit more of a sinister thought behind it of, well, if no one comes into the house, how am I going to
wreak my revenge if there's no one to revenge on? Yeah, good point. All right,
but still, there's definitely, you know, lacks the organization of the Ringu ghost, I think.
Yeah. She's got it down.
Yeah.
I'll Sado. She knows what she's about. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you were going to employ a ghost, you would definitely go for the Ringu ghost.
Yeah. And like, yes, this film, I really, really, really like this film. I do think, now I haven't gone back and watched it. I think I watched it about 3 or 4 years ago. I think I watched You on the Curse again, and I remember it being very, very, very good. And there were things that weren't in this film that I was like, oh right, yeah, that's in The Curse, not The Grudge. You know,
it's probably been used in The Grudge too. That there always seems to be like they recycle a lot of things. Like the American remake of this is almost shot for shot each scene.
It's very similar.
Again, directed by the same director, you know. So it's very clearly just making it for American audiences who, for some reason, can't read subtitles, maybe, or
because it's still set in Japan.
Yeah,
but
it's got Buffy in it.
It's got Sarah Michelle Gellar, and it also has Ted Raimi is in it.
That's right. Yeah.
He plays the guy that's like distributing the work for the social care people.
Yeah,
in it, he's that guy in it. Like Bill Pullman has a very really small role in it.
Bizarrely small.
Yeah, he's in it at the very beginning, and then there's a wee flashback that he's in for a few minutes, and then that's all you get of Bill Pullman. But I remember kind of liking the remake to
Yeah.
this and being like, okay, they didn't completely ruin it. And the fact that it's the same director, I think, helps with that
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Although, when you look at like a similar project, like say, when they did the remake of Ring and then they did Ring 2, they had Hideo Nakata, who made Ring and Ring 2, come and do the remake of Ring 2, and it was abysmal. It was extremely bad.
I will say, like, what I found, because I did actually watch the American
Actually, we
version
should
as well.
establish which. There was a second remake of this
What?
that came out like 3 years ago or something, with John Cho in it.
Oh, right.
Apparently it was terrible. But yeah, they did another remake of The Grudge.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like, it's...
Yeah, unnecessary.
Yeah,
completely.
like, not that much time passed. I mean, at least let it get to a stage where it's like, you know, people maybe want a remake of it. But
Yeah.
I will say, like, the remake, some of the shots or some of the scenes that were just completely lifted, you could tell as the director that, like, he was given a bigger budget, so of course he's going to say yes to this, and he was able to do certain things
There's
a bit
lot
closer
more
to what he wanted.
There's a lot more stuff in the remake with the sister of the family that live
Yeah.
in the house, the guy's sister.
Yeah.
When she goes back to her flat, that bit's way more elaborate
Yeah.
in the remake, and I think slightly creepier. Though it goes on for longer, and I think it works when it goes on for longer in the remake.
Yeah.
But I do like it in this.
And I would say, like, the CG does kind of take me out of this one a wee bit, but again, it's the budgetary problems. You know, if you watch the
Yeah.
American remake, it's definitely better. It's still, I mean, still early 2000s, so it's still not fantastic a lot of the time. But
there's a few moments, where someone is floating over somebody, and you're like, that's not really there, and it's not great looking.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
yeah, definitely.
I'm a big fan of practical effects,
Oh yes, yeah.
and I like it when they do that stuff, but sometimes you can't, and that's fine. And actually, sometimes I've probably thought something was a practical effect, and it's actually probably been enhanced with CG and stuff, and I haven't noticed, just because
It happens.
CG artists are very good sometimes.
Yeah, and it happens
they
more
do.
than people realize now. There's like there's literal like sitcoms and stuff that have CG, you know, backgrounds and stuff, where like as you say, like enhanced. There's maybe like a bit of a set, but we watch them and don't know, and there's still people like would go on about like too much CG. You can tell it's everywhere, and it's like, but you don't know.
Yeah, maybe you can't tell, and you can just tell when it's poorly executed.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, I think The Grudge is great, as in the sort of the pantheon of like horror movies that I saw at exactly the right time when I was like getting super into all the horror movies, and wanting to watch. And The Grudge came along around the time that I was getting into those films, was when this came out. Again, I think as we said before in our Ringu episode, we have like probably got Ringu to thank for seeing something like The Grudge.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually the other film that we're going to talk about as well, the fact that those films left the shores of their native country and came to English-speaking countries the way they did, in a way that they were popularized, and that we were able to notice them and go, oh, I want to see that.
Yeah.
You know, I think we have the Ringu to thank for that, and that's great. And The Grudge, I think the fact that The Grudge followed it up, because I think Ringu didn't come out in, like, I didn't hear about Ringu probably until like a year or two after it came out. And then not long after that, The Grudge came out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, my God, these Japanese people and their horror movies. How have I been missing this the whole time?
Especially around
this is
that,
incredible.
Yeah, especially around that time, the kind of Western world kind of horror movies we were getting very, very bad ones. There were still good ones being made, of course. There always is, like, but the ones that were really being pushed to the forefront were crap and predictable, and just they were just born. It's always that way.
Yeah. The first time I saw The Grudge, there's nothing predictable about what's happening in The Grudge.
Especially as we keep saying, like, you know, the indiscriminate nature of the spirits, and and also like, you know, it's a different culture's take on, like, you know, the way Japanese culture looks at ghosts and like demons and things like that. Sometimes they're the same, and like they have a different way of seeing these things, and sometimes that's all you need is this different approach to a ghost or energy or whatever it may be, or negative energy. Here, to know where like this is the negative energy that the house that it contains just infects everyone. It's like a disease in a way, or a virus. It just kind of you walk in close proximity, that's you're fucked. Yeah,
you got infected.
Yep.
And now it's too late, and now you just have to wait until maybe it comes to get you.
There's no rhyme, no reason. There's not. You didn't do anything wrong. It's not like you know. Well, I suppose in a way you did, like open a tomb that you shouldn't have. To know it's
sort of, yeah. But at the same time, I mean, that's more like curses for people who are there to do ill.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a curse for people who just happen to walk in.
Yeah.
And that sucks, but it makes for a really, really good, scary film.
Yeah.
Would you like a spooky cup of tea, John? Or perhaps a spooky coffee?
Oh, yeah, spooky coffee. Yeah. Always.
The kettle's just boiled, so there we go. Hold on.
I want it black so I can see any images of ghosts reflected on it.
All right, well, there you go.
Nice.
Yes. Is that your trick for seeing the ghosts?
Yep.
You can only see them in reflections of caffeinated beverages.
That's like my special power. I've the gift, but I can only see ghosts. I have to like walk around with a cup of coffee, but because I'm addicted to coffee,
Sam Raimi's The Gift.
Yeah. But it's kind of like I have to overcome my addiction of coffee to see the ghosts and to help them move on.
All right.
Because I just end up drinking the coffee and then I can't see them again. So I have to make a lot of coffee.
You have to hold it under your face and look at it and smell it without drinking it.
Yeah, which is impossible.
To see the spooky ghosts, which you can never see because your cup is always empty. Yes. So, John, that's the worst segue ever.
I was going to wait to see how you segued it.
The worst. I'm giving up because, John, I just really want to talk about this film so much. And in fact, I'm going to deviate from my standard formula, as I like to do every now and then. So usually I would talk about, I'd do a thing and then I'd ask John, what he thinks of A Tale of Two Sisters.
Yeah, who cares?
But I'm going to just read the log line and then I'm going to give my opinion.
And I'm probably going to agree with you.
So, A Tale of Two Sisters, very short log line, directed by Jee-woon Kim.
Mm-hmm.
A family is haunted by the tragedies of deaths within the family. Now,
isn't it
this is directed by Jee-woon Kim. Mm-hmm. Who directed I Saw the Devil.
Yep. Great movie.
And he directed another film I really like called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Mm-hmm.
That is very, very, very good. I do like it a lot. I would recommend it.
A Bittersweet Life as well.
A Bittersweet Life, which is remarkably good as well. Now, John, I'm going to make a bold statement right now.
Ooh.
And I'm going to say that now I've seen this film before.
Yeah.
A long time ago. And really liked it.
Yeah.
I watched it this time. I think this might be one of my favorite films I have ever seen. And I am not joking, and I mean that in every way.
Awesome. That's
I think this film is one of the best shot films ever.
Yeah.
It is
gorgeous. It is amazingly well shot.
It is that's all I could think. Now, also, let alone, the plot and everything and the way the story is told is fascinating as well. Everything works. I was watching this film, my wife didn't want to watch it. She was, not interested. So she went away to do other things. And then at one point she came into the room and was looking at the screen. And then she stopped. And she sat down. She stopped and she sat down. And she sat and watched the rest of the film.
Brilliant.
Because she was like, what the fuck is going on? And also just the look of it, how good it looks.
Yeah.
It's absolutely... I can't say enough about how beautiful this film is and how thoughtful it is and how well composed every shot is.
Yeah. And even to the point of there's very distinct colours for different scenes as well, and
the transitions between them and the way it'll focus on a pattern on a material,
Yeah.
and then flip to another one that's like perfectly aligned, but is like a different color.
Yeah, those
And then
horrible
you're
flower patterns.
those the terrible wallpaper and the awful curtains and stuff, and you're like,
The true horror.
yeah. And then on top of that, it's just marvelous. It's really well written. Everybody in it is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
This film
it's
is
one of those ones where you're just
brilliant.
like, earlier stuff that happens earlier in it that you think are mistakes in the direction. There's one very early where the stepmother comes and is really manic and really like, okay, there's already something definitely wrong with her.
Yeah.
And the way she's talking to the girls, at one point I think it looks like she's talking to the younger sister, but then it kind of shows the other sister. That there's something like weird about the way it's shot that you go, the first time watching you'll go, is that a mistake? But everything kind of makes sense at the end of this movie. I don't want to kind of go into it, but I like stuff like that there's so much
it's really
done
clever.
early on that is that said, it's just very cleverly done, and
it's really clever
the way the
that
dad
looks.
interacts or
he's
doesn't
so
interact actually, because he's terrible.
He's so good. Like, again, like the performances of everybody is marvelous.
Yeah.
He's fucking brilliant. Just his downtrodden thing, and you're like, it makes you angry at him at times, because you're like, why are you being such a dick?
Oh no, you should be angry at him. It's he's a fucking arsehole.
You should say these things to your dad, because fuck him. But yeah, again, it's one of those films that all comes together at a certain point, and you're like, and then you understand, and you think, okay.
It's so like, I like when a movie is slow and it works for it. Like, you know, that there's some movies that kind of like drag things out unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But I found this one, like this, like, kind of slow pace. It just it adds so much creepiness to it, and it really, like, I think all these movies do a very good job with atmosphere and tone. And this one there's just something that bit extra. I think we're showing our hands early here, as always, but this movie does that wee bit extra where that it just, like, you never feel relaxed. You always know something's wrong. You can't quite place your finger on what exactly is wrong, and even when you get a twist later, there's still more to come. There's always like something's always not right.
There's always something else where you're like, something still is off
it's
here.
like, that's not the whole story though, is it? Or if it is, this doesn't make sense. And
yeah, because there's parts where she says something, or a character will say something, and someone else will be just looking at them like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? And then and you're like, is that what I'm supposed to be getting from this other character here, that they're confused, or are they bored, or what? And then again, as said, like, at some point it just sort of comes together, and you go, oh, okay.
There's I feel I should tell you, because I don't know that, because this is it's a really intense movie, especially towards the end when everything's completely exploding.
Yeah.
Not literally, of course, but I should tell you that I found out, apparently the girl who plays Sumi, the protagonist, and the stepmother, even though they're very antagonistic in this, apparently they became very close friends on set. I just found that nice. I don't know why it was in the trivia section of IMDb, but it was like, you know what?
Weird.
I kind of almost like knowing that, because it's fucking intense between them.
Yeah, it is. It's like, you'd imagine maybe you'd have to, like, get to know somebody pretty well before you started screaming in their face in that particular way and doing those things.
But I have to agree with you. Like, it is. I mean, as we know with this director, you know, he does fantastic work, and this movie is no exception. You know, it just. Every shot is meticulously done. Yeah, it's slow but deservedly so, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. Really, it's like
Yeah.
the editing's really good. Apart from like a few like freeze frame shots, which I thought were a bit cheesy. Like those were the only. Like I'm literally nitpicking at this point. You know, it's
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
there's not much wrong with this to really
Yeah,
say.
it's almost because I almost don't want to talk about it too much because it is a film that slowly reveals itself.
Yeah. I think we should probably leave this to when we go into our spoiler section because
Yeah.
this movie you can't really talk in depth about. Basically, anyone listening, just go see this movie, or
Yeah.
well, not go see it. I was about to say rent it. I suppose it's still renting, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
When you get
it's
it off the
renting when
streaming
you're on the
services.
streamings. Yes, it's I think it's currently on Shudder
Yeah.
on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it.
Okay.
I saw it on Shudder on there. They have it at the minute. I don't know if they own it now or if it's just like whatever, but it's on there currently. That's how I watched it. So if you have Amazon Prime, and
I have it on.
Shudder's pretty cool. Like I like Shudder. I think they've done some great stuff. There's plenty of shite on there,
Yeah.
but that's fine. I think they've got a good measure of other good stuff.
I have it on
that
this like
shows
weird archaic device called a DVD. It's,
You own this physically. I have the DVD of it as well.
I got this when we've talked before when we worked in retail and specifically in selling like CDs and movies and stuff, and it was kind of an awesome time and an awful time at the same time because your paychecks literally just went towards buying movies. And this, I remember this. There was a lot of buzz around this movie.
Yeah.
And I already knew the director, not personally, obviously, but knew his work and was like, yeah, I have to get this.
Yeah, same with me. I have a folder over there full of. At some point in the past, I got rid of all the boxes for everything, and I have this folder that I've just filled with all these DVDs, and it's in there. Now, I didn't use the DVD because I wanted to watch it in high definition because I'm a snob with that stuff now. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch. I've got the SD one.
I can't even see what's happening on the screen.
But I can just push this button and Amazon Prime come up and there's Shudder and there it is there, click,
well,
and we're watching it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we get sponsored by Shudder now?
Indeed. Go get Shudder.
Go get Shudder. If we can get it for free, yeah, that'd be great.
No, you gotta add it on to your Amazon Prime subscription is one of those things. But there's some cool stuff on there. I've appreciated it in the time that I've had it anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, this film's fucking marvelous.
It is.
And as I said before, I think it's in my it's entered that pantheon of my favorite films now. It's just so
I'm
good.
picturing an actual pantheon.
Indeed, the actual pantheon with a couple of DVD boxes in the middle of this vast open
And this is the John Carpenter wing.
Indeed. But it's still quite a small stack of DVDs, really, when you think about it. Yeah.
But they all have like a palatial, like over the top, like area that just takes up way too much space. It's like
and my
ridiculous.
signed copy of the screenplay from The Thing as well that I have. It's right there in center stage
on a
with
big massive shrine
with soft lighting on it so as not to fade.
Oh
the
yes,
pages.
of course. No photos.
No photo. I just stand in the corner with a gun and shout, "No photo." No photo!
to the only visitor, me.
Like those crazy guys in the Vatican that scream at you in the friggin' what's that, in the Sistine Chapel? My God. If there's never been a less peaceful place than the Sistine Chapel, I gotta tell you. I haven't been through that shit.
Yep.
No photo!
No photo!
It's just that constantly. It's just a guy screaming. Anyway, this film's marvelous.
Yes.
We will talk about it later.
Yeah.
You can
when
bet
it wins,
on that.
When it wins.
I'm going to go into the spoiler section. Well, I already declared it to be one of my favorite films now, so I don't think
we give up on any subtle idea that there was a competition in this podcast long ago.
Yeah, I think the problem is when we choose the films, John.
Yeah.
I think we're thinking of a particular movie, and then we're like, well, now we need two others for this to lose.
We need two shit ones.
Yeah, we need two sacrifices here. So anyway, we'll get to that later. But for now, I'd just say this film's fucking marvelous, and you should watch it.
I agree.
Well, John, the spooky caravan seems to have calmed down for now. It's sort of
Apart from that dripping from the top.
I was just gonna say, John, before you stole my idea. There's just the distant,
What do you mean idea? We're completely in this caravan.
Shh. The distant drip, drip, drip. I'm trying to creep you out, you fucker. You've ruined it now.
You didn't invent being aware of your surroundings, sir.
You've ruined the whole thing. You be terrible at, like, Dungeons and Dragons things. You'd be like, is this happening? Is this happening? What's happening? I bet this is happening, isn't it? Aye. Well, thanks.
It's just
drip, drip.
I'll change the washer in the tap. Jesus, don't get so dramatic over a dripping tap.
Well, let's just abandon the whole sort of facade then, John, and I'll just read the logline for Dark Water. Oh, directed by Hideo Nakata, who's made a film I loved.
Yeah.
So a mother and her 6-year-old daughter move into a creepy apartment whose every surface is permeated by water.
Water.
So, John, what did you think of Hideo Nakata's Dark Water from 2002?
As I said earlier when we were kind of giving in our preliminary thoughts on A Tale of Two Sisters, I think this does a really good job of getting the tone and the atmosphere right. I do, however, think this movie probably would have worked better as a short. I think there's not enough to keep it going for like a feature length movie. It doesn't have enough to say, and a lot of things are kind of painfully obvious in it. Like I'm gonna spoil this one now because I think it's very obvious where the ghost is.
They don't shy away from the location.
Yeah, but they spend so long. Like this is one of these ones that, like, almost the opposite of A Tale of Two Sisters, where I do think this wastes a lot of time with these slow shots of just the protagonist just staring at things, and there's a lot of things like that. I still think it's fine, but I think the first half of this movie works a lot better than the latter half, which I just was kind of almost ready to shout at the screen, just go, right, get on with it. Like, what are you dragging your feet for? And I found it hilarious that the child just disappeared every second. That like this movie is basically, you're kind of sitting there going, the whole thing revolves around this woman trying to get custody of her kid. You're going, maybe you shouldn't have custody because you cannot keep an eye on her for 5 seconds.
She's not doing very well, but she is in a rough
it's true, yeah,
circumstance.
She's in it.
Like, she's trying to get a job, and then her job's keeping her late at work, and therefore she's late to go pick up her daughter from kindergarten, and that's not good.
No.
And her husband's a fucking wanker.
Yeah, he's a bit of a twat.
He seems like a wanker anyway. From what we see of him, he seems like a bit of a twat. We do entirely get her perspective on him, really.
Yeah.
Though we have to assume that the things she says about him are true.
Yeah, it seems very vindictive of him because he supposedly had nothing to do with the daughter. He didn't really care up until these proceedings, and then you're like, it seems calculated and kind of horrible. Yeah. But I mean, that stuff was all great. That, like, all that beginning stuff, and then the water obviously being being a representation of the state of mind she's in. This like
the
permanent
dry rot. Not the dry rot. The opposite of the dry rot. The wet mold creeping in through her entire life.
Yeah,
things becoming decrepit and miserable and just hard to deal with. And it's just like it is a wonderful, amazingly good visual representation of, like, depression.
Oh yes,
the idea of rising damp,
and how it like slowly creeps. Like each scene that you see it's gotten worse and worse. Yeah, and how no one really wants to even help. Like, no one, even the superintendent or whatever you might call him, the who's at the desk, who was the old man in The Grudge.
I was just going to say, did you recognize him from The Grudge? Yeah.
The old man who played Peekaboo, he returns in this, and he's fucking useless. It's like
he's so terrible. He barely has anything even to say.
Yeah, he
like just
more or
sort of
less
looks at people until they leave him alone.
until his job's threatened with him. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
he just all he does is panic then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of almost disappointing in the latter half of this movie. Like probably not even half, the like third of it. You know, where things should be ramping up, it seems to slow right the way down.
Yeah.
To almost a crawl, and whereas that, you know, the slow pace worked in a Tale of Two Sisters, and this I think it held it back. I felt that this should have been one of those ones that kind of towards the end got more and more adrenaline pumping, but it was just like, okay, and you're kind of watching going, yeah, the girl who died, she's in that water tank there that you keep going up to and no one's checking.
Yeah.
You know,
which is annoying.
Yeah, it like frustrating things like that where it's like, I know what's happening here, but you're being a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Now, I do think I do like, there's things I do really like about this film. I think it's really well shot at times. It's brilliantly shot.
Yeah.
There's some stuff with, I really like, there's one particular scene where she goes into an apartment and it's flooding.
Yeah.
And the soundscape in that is fucking brilliant. With like the running water and the hammering, and it's flooded, and it's a fucking, that place is a nightmare.
Yep.
From so many different perspectives. Like, even if you weren't dealing with ghosts and that was happening in the flat above your flat, you'd walk in there and you'd just be like, oh no, this is terrible.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? And on top of all that, it's really freaky and creepy. I do think also that the sort of the mystery, in inverted commas, at the heart of the film is incredibly sad.
Yeah.
In a way that just makes me feel awful. It's really bad. As someone who is sort of scared of drowning, in a way, it's I don't like it. It makes me feel very, 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 very uncomfortable. But yeah, it is just like soul crushing, in a way. But I think you're right when you said that it might work better as a short.
Yeah. Like
a 45-minute thing, a half an hour thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a really intense episode of a TV show, maybe.
Yeah. I think there's enough for something like that, and it would have played it out a lot better. I don't because like the stuff you're saying, I agree with as well. It is very well shot. As we both said, the tone and atmosphere is on point. All these films, the tone and atmosphere is perfect from the get-go, basically. The performances are really good as well. You know, it kind of annoys me even more that I really wanted to like it, and it reached that point where I was just going, right, this fucking movie needs to end, and I checked the time and it was like only halfway through, and it's like, right, unless something really mental starts happening, then I know where this is going, and there's nothing worse than sitting with the predictability of something, like you know it, and it dragging it out even further to the point where you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, but as you say, like, and you know, I have reasons. I hate the idea of a flooded apartment. Freaks me out because I do plumbing, so that's, you know, that's like a horror unto itself.
Imagine you walked into a job where someone's like, oh yeah, I've got a leaky pipe, and then you walked in and it was like that.
Yeah, you know, you go,
like, leaky fucking pipe? What?
That's you have nothing but a leak.
Yeah, this entire fucking room is one giant leak.
You technically
like
live
shape of water in there.
You technically live inside a water pipe, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, holy shit. So, yeah, I think I like this film up to a point, much like yourself. I think that the pacing in it is off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it slows down when it maybe should be speeding up, as it were.
I also like the there's like a very strong, like history repeating itself kind of idea throughout this. The three kind of the main protagonist, the mother, was also kind of a latchkey kid, or was very much in the same position that her daughter ends up, where she's waiting around for a parental figure to come lift her and things like this. The girl who the ghost girl, the girl who dies, she was in a similar situation. So the three of them have this link.
It seems like she went to the same kindergarten and everything.
Yeah.
I
don't know if there's maybe like this like kind of insidious message. I don't know kind of what the Japanese. I'm assuming it's a very traditional view of the family unit, and I hope, is there like this weird subtext to this of like you should just wait it out, and like you shouldn't stick it out. Yeah, you shouldn't divorce, because that's a fucking terrible message, and it feels like it's almost kind of got that weird. I don't know, but
I feel like they're implying that the dad was never around anyway.
Yeah.
And like he's actually just, now that they're getting divorced, he's deliberately making things worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really just, it's reflecting, I think, something in the zeitgeist, things that in the modern era, when you talk about, like, there's a lot more single parents, like out of choice single parents now than there was, say, in like the 60s and 70s, and then like it's been more and more since then. I think it's just reflecting the zeitgeist of the challenges that probably a lot of single mothers in Japan would face. Of like, right, well, I'm a single mother trying to get a job now, and I've been out of the job market for like 6 or 7 years now, and how difficult it is to get back in. And
can I just say, like, that guy who interviews her, what a dick. He like literally like just kind of leaves her hanging for ages and like goes.
Yeah, he just fucks off and leaves her sitting there. To go do other shit.
If you're interviewing someone, you make time to have the interview properly. You do it right.
It's real shitty. But I think the fact that she has no choice but to be like, oh, I just gotta hang around and wait on this guy. Is also sort of making that point of like, well, she's screwed. And she has to do it like this, and maybe she's making a lot of sacrifices. She made a lot of sacrifices to be a mother. Yeah.
And then there's also a moment there where she's very submissive to that guy, and it just there was something about it that it was it just didn't feel right. It was like the fact that she had to do this is like, fuck it. Like she is in just this horrible situation that it sucks.
I think I think it addresses that stuff well. Because it's not easy.
No.
Especially when you're suddenly out on your own and you're like, all right, okay, what the fuck am I gonna do? But again, the pacing is the thing with this movie. Is
such a shame. It's such a shame
because it is so freaky and creepy, and weirdly also there's a weird sort of hair fixation in this as well. I think it's just it's a really good easy method of disguising the features of someone. If they have long hair that is just like draped in front of their face, or if it's at least like covering their eye line or whatever, and they're in the distance, that can just be creepy. And I think they use it very well.
It does work. As you say, like it's an easy go-to. That's why it's become a kind of cliche. It's mocked in a lot of those crappy kind of scary movie type movies and things like that.
Let's not start talking about those.
No, let's not lower the tone just yet.
Let's not lower the tone with comedy that's deliberately lowering the tone without realizing that it's doing it.
Also lowering the general IQ of the world.
I saw that first scary movie and I felt like I was getting dumber the entire time I was watching it. Yes.
I would say as well, I think we should point out that all three of these movies have American remakes.
They do. Yes.
We didn't
maybe
even
talk
say A
about
Tale
that.
of Two Sisters has
It does.
Uninvited. I think it's called.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but
I have. I saw it and didn't realize it was a remake of A Tale of Two Sisters. That's how far removed and busted and crap it was.
Maybe that's why they changed the name of it then.
Yeah, because I watched it and I was just like, and it's absolute garbage.
I would imagine so.
The remake of this isn't very good either. It's one with Jennifer Connelly is in that one.
Yes, yeah.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
It's not offensively bad, but it's not very good. And of course, the remake of The Grudge we talked about. We did talk about that a bit.
I mean,
and there is a second remake of it though that is apparently awful that I never saw. I saw the trailer for it and was like, "What?" And then and that got way out of hand as well.
Yeah.
With there's like they kept going with the Grudge ones. They made the Grudge and then they made a sequel to that one.
4 of them or something. Isn't there?
There's I think there's one that's called Grudges.
Grudges.
I think that's maybe just coming out or.
Is that their attempt at the aliens thing?
I think so. Yes.
They're in the vents.
Yeah, and then also there is the daftest crime. There is basically a Ringu versus Grudge movie as well. It's the names of the individual ghosts.
How does that even work?
I don't know. Maybe like the creepy woman from The Grudge watches the tape from Ringu and then they're locked in an eternal battle or something. I don't know.
I morbidly want to see that now.
Yeah, I can't remember the name because I can't remember the name. There is a name.
Now that's what I call a cursed video.
Yeah, there's a name for the ghost in The Grudge that they don't really say in the movie. Her name is in Ju-on the Curse, and it's in the sequels. But it's whatever their names are with verses. It's like Sadako versus whatever the Grudge ghost's name is. And it seems terrible, but ever since I heard about it, I think it's a Japanese production. It's not the remake thing.
Jeez. It's very much a mummy versus werewolf kind of thing.
I have no doubt it's absolutely garbage. Now I'm actually gonna have a wee look here. I know this is actually we're supposed to be talking about Dark Water.
I think I've said everything that I need to about Dark Water, and I don't know. Do you have anything to add to Dark Water before we take it?
I think it's still worth watching. I think it's very good. There were some genuine moments where I got that all over creepifying.
Again, I think they all happen very early on, though. I think.
Yeah. No, there's one in particular that happens really close to the end that was that I thought should have happened. Again, as you said, it should have been a short.
Yeah.
It should have got to this particular part a lot quicker, I think. But I do get the shit. There's a part that gave me the shivers, but I think we'll talk about that in a wee bit.
Okay.
When we're talking about our spoilers, I don't want to do all the spoilers now.
We're gonna attempt to find this terrible Grudge versus Ringu.
Oh no, I found it. It's Sadako versus Samara.
Oh,
Samara is the name of. I don't know if it. Let's see. I don't know. I kind of want to find the log line for it and read it just to see how stupid it is. So I'm going to the Rotten Tomatoes page of it to break the fourth wall here. It's currently rocking a 48% on the critic score, which is higher than I thought it was gonna get.
But then we've talked about Rotten Tomatoes and all those kind of sites before. It's wouldn't go by it.
All right, so this is terrible plot. After watching a cursed videotape, Natsumi has only 2 days before she will be killed by a demonic entity Sadako. Her only hope is to pit Sadako against Kayako, a menacing spirit that inhabits a hunter house.
I thought it was Samara.
Samara.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm a little bit more baffled now because that contradicts. Okay, right. So it's Katako versus Samara, but then in Japan. Hold on a minute. Right, Sadako versus Kayako. It says here now.
Right.
So I'm confused about where the Samara name has come from.
It tested better with audiences.
Oh, I know what's happened. This is Google's fucked me. So Samara is what they renamed the ghost in the ring in the American remake of Ringu.
Wow.
So this is a different article that it's come up like, what's the difference between the two versions? Whereas no, it's Kayako. So yes, it's Sadako versus Kayako, and you probably shouldn't watch it, but I have a funny feeling now that I've looked it up, I will watch it because that sounds awful.
Yeah.
It sounds like Dark Water is way better than this thing, at least. And I think Dark Water's still worth watching. I think it's a little bit freaky here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I like how it's shot. It's shot very cleverly. The bits where it is freaky are bits where it's shot really well and is creepifying. And I think the concept is actually solid.
Yeah.
But maybe not for a full-length feature.
Yeah. Anyway, scary ghosts.
Scary ghosts! Scary ghosts in the haunted caravan! Woo! Haunted caravan! So, John, we need to stop the getting haunted, or dispel ghosts, or... I don't know. I mean, again, the solution with ghosts is always really vague.
Yeah. Especially with these three movies.
Yeah. You actually, in a lot of Western things, there's usually some weird specific thing, isn't there? Like, you must bury her doll in the mountain where she died, and the ghost will not haunt you no more, or whatever.
Pour salt on this amulet and set it on fire.
And set it on fire. Fire's usually a good one. Burning something, yeah.
Fire's usually good. It's, killing anything, even ghosts who aren't alive.
Yeah. Or the later twist on that of, you burnt it? No, you shouldn't have burnt it. Now she's free.
No, you need to trap her in another amulet.
You need to put her in a mirror or something. I don't know. Bullshit.
I know. Fuck yourself.
But anyway, none of those solutions were partaken of or tried out in any of these three films. But John, before we try to figure out...
Don't you dare ask this question. Don't you fucking dare.
Which of these three was the best movie, John?
I wonder will it be A Tale of Two Sisters? Dark Water, of course.
No, obviously it's Dark Water. There is no point.
The one we had most issues with.
Yeah. I still like the other two films, but Dark Water is marvelous. It is a fucking filmmaking masterpiece, and like, this is spoilers now, so spoilers. And one of the things I really like about Tale of Two Sisters, aside from the fact that it's technically marvelous, is, and like, all the performances are great and all that stuff, but the way it tells its story again is great. And in fact, there comes a point during A Tale of Two Sisters when you start to think to yourself, oh, this isn't about ghosts at all.
Yeah.
And then it is!
See,
that's my favourite thing in the film.
Yeah, that actually happened with my wife was watching this with me, and she had never seen it before, and it got to that point where you realize it's in Sumi's head that her sister is dead, and the stepmother wasn't there at all. The
stepmother was never a stepmother. Yeah.
So just to break the fourth wall here yet again. So she was like, "Well, this doesn't fit your category then, because it's not a haunted house." And or is it?
You just fucking hold on, love.
I said to her, "Yeah, well, what about the girl under the sink?" And she went, "Oh yeah, what was that about?" It's like,
they sprinkle that in when the woman is having a fit, and then she says she saw someone underneath the sink, and that's creepy. And you do maybe kind of like think, "Oh, was that a fuck up? Is that a mistake?
Yeah.
Is that something they threw in to freak us out?"
Again, so much of this feels like that. Like,
if
you stop this at the wrong point, like if you didn't finish this movie, and ended it somewhere around like the just before the very end, you would be thinking, I mean, there's a lot of continuity issues with it, and a lot of things don't make sense, but
but no,
it does,
because that's fucking brilliant when and again, we're calling her stepmother, but I guess once it is revealed, the reality is revealed, you get to the point that she was never the stepmother.
No, she's just the dad's assistant, or
she's the dad's assistant. They may have been, I think, the mother, had suspected him of having an affair with her.
I think it's heavily implied that
it's
he was.
Heavily implied,
I mean,
that maybe he was.
When they drive to the house together, the father and the assistant, and they kind of do a really bad job of like sneaking into the house, like not even sneaking, just like kind of hiding their attraction or hiding that there's something going on, and like everyone kind of knows he's a bit of a fucking shitheel.
Yeah. But she was never the stepmother.
No.
That's all been in her head. Like, she was never there. When she came back to the house, that woman wasn't there.
Yeah.
All the things of the interactions of the stepmother with the father was just her screaming at her father and being crazy and shouting things. And then there's that whole long conversation that she has with her uncle, who's just staring at her like, what the fuck are you on about?
And she's going full on mental of like, do you remember this time? Which she's just completely making up.
Yeah, she must be, because like when you look back on it later and you're like, that was the daughter, that's the daughter, that's not like a contemporary of this guy, that's like his niece talking about when he was a kid. And you're like, nah.
I could have
wild.
Another kind of nitpicky thing that it was also an issue we had, although this isn't as bad as the Joker with it, but the Joker did the same thing of like, once it's revealed, once the reality's revealed, and you know it was in her head, it starts like going through different scenes and like showing her in the position of what we thought was the stepmother, and I could have done without that. I mean, maybe one or two would have been fine, but it kind of goes on that wee bit too long of like, fucking get it, like
we get it, and they do that, and I don't
more,
like it either.
It's more egregious in this movie because again it doesn't feel like it dumbs things down for the audience in a way. Apart from that's the worst bit of like,
that's the only part where you feel like the movie is maybe starting to talk down a wee bit, of like, did you get it? See if you didn't. Here's a bunch of clips of what really was going on. Ooh, and you're like, okay, yeah. But again, after that, the best thing in this movie, I think, is the thing that changes the whole film perspective. You get to see the end of it and all this stuff, but it is for me when God, what's her actual? It's Yoon-ju, I guess is her name. The stepmother. Again, she's not really a stepmother, so it seems wrong. But her actually the real.
That's how we'll refer to her though.
Yeah, this real woman, when she later goes back to the house and she's walking around and goes upstairs following the sound of footsteps and all that, and then just. That is a fantastic reveal because I think they do a really good job of making you think, oh, it was all in her head.
Yeah.
And but then she opens that wardrobe opens, and then you see the fucking, what I imagine is ectoplasm spilling out, and then, and she comes out in this scream. And then all of a sudden it's like, right, so you know what? It's not all in her head.
Yeah.
And that her sister that she's been talking to the whole time was probably actually a ghost.
Yeah.
Dandering around with her, having full-blown conversations with her.
Yeah, there's a bit of ambiguity left open with the movie afterwards, because after that woman is killed by the ghost, by the younger sister, it cuts
that
back.
Woman as well. That's what she calls her half the movie
that
as well.
Woman.
She refers to her as that woman, which is just like every time she says it, the dad just looks at him like, what?
Yeah.
Just looks at her like, what are you talking about? Who? What? Yeah, that woman.
But
it's so vague. It's so vague that he doesn't come back with an argument. He's like, who? What?
But when Sumi it cuts back to her in the asylum, and she like it seems like she's got like a bit of a smile, but like almost like she knows, oh my sister's getting her vengeance here.
Yeah.
Because when everything is revealed, when it shows you kind of the whole proceedings, like like you mentioned how Dark Water is a horrible story.
Yeah.
This is fucking heartbreaking as well.
Is it worse? Maybe.
I don't know if you can qualify these things. Like,
yeah, it's hard to say.
It's like saying to someone, "Oh, your dad died." Well, fuck, I have it even worse. My mom died.
Yeah,
like, no, it's weird. Like, it's what the fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Are we
like,
going to play a numbers game with how many
this
people
isn't a
died?
competition.
No.
Get out of the funeral, you fuckers.
But I just wonder. I mean, I'm just thinking more like, have I been like, am I more? Because I think about the death in Dark Water.
Yeah.
And that freaks me out. Because I don't like the idea of
drowning. The manner in which she,
in particular.
Well, this one's kind of
that's
similar.
Skewing me. She does suffocate. Basically,
she suffocates,
under
yeah,
her
with like
dead mother.
Yeah,
which
adds another.
Exactly. See, now you see why I'm saying like, is this worse? But again, I think
drowning's just suffocating in water. So
yeah, in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's fucked up. They're both terrible.
Yeah.
And you're right. We shouldn't try to quantify them. Which do I find more disturbing? I don't know. But I think, like the comeuppance, like whenever we were talking about the Grudge and the arbitrary nature of it, the comeuppance in this is entirely justified.
Oh yes, yeah,
100%. The vengeance is
especially
righteous.
like it's so. Like, you know, I don't even really know why that woman because she walks in and sees that the younger daughter is suffocating there and like trying to get out, and she like walks away, and then it seems like she changes her mind. She's about to go back until Sumi comes and is all like, "Oh, just stay out of our lives," and blah blah blah, and then like very vindictive of this woman to like just go, "Ha, you'll regret this."
Yeah,
because I ain't gonna let, like, without saying it, I ain't gonna let your sister die, and that's gonna traumatize
this
it.
is somehow
you fucker.
your fault now.
It's like she is a complete piece of shit.
Yeah,
but so you can see why she has this kind of image of her. So like Sumi has this, and what an image from the first time you see the kind of fake stepmother, let's call her. She is so manic, so you know something's wrong from the very first time you see her.
Yeah,
she is like really trying hard, over the top, and kind of that like almost that Stepford wife type thing of like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, get ready for dinner
in this way. Yeah,
it's like, oh, you're creepy.
Yeah, the whole thing's in, of course, like the ghost. I mean, like there is a point with the ghost of the mother that crawls my fucking skin. Like that whole scene is just, when you look back at that, it's a ghost harassing a ghost.
Yep,
that's ghost on ghost like attack
ghost,
there. You know, when you think about it, because that's the other sister.
Yeah,
that's not Sumi. You know,
well, no, the time it's the but when the mother appears with the like,
when she's hanging,
her neck
like,
and stuff is all like crooked.
Is that Sumi?
It's actually Sumi. Yeah, I think, is it the mother who comes in on the younger sister, and just kind of like pulls the covers back? Is it that? Yeah, it could go either way. That could be the mother
harassing her, and then she gets scared then. But she's definitely being harassed by a ghost.
Yeah.
That's definitely a ghost harassing a ghost at some point in there, which is just weird.
And it does, I mean, you don't even realize how horrific certain things are until the whole story is painted for you as well. Like, you know, again, yes, this is all in Sumi's head, but when the stepmother locks the younger sister into the cupboard to punish her, there's this whole thing, and once it's revealed that the mother hung herself in there, that takes on a completely different light, where you kind of think that the sister always seemed a wee bit fragile, or a wee bit, kind of, like there was something maybe mentally not right with her for like
Yeah.
in the start, so you kind of like just go along with it as like she might just be claustrophobic, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's rough, yeah. Because like watching it a second time, especially
Yeah.
when she locks her in the cupboard, and I'm like, that is terrible.
Yeah.
That is so much worse than when you watch it the first time. When you watch it the second time, you're like, that's awful.
Yeah.
That is the worst. Like, because like again, like my wife said to me, like, what's so bad about being locked in the cupboard? Why is she freaking out so bad? And I was like, just wait, just wait.
You'll see. and
don't
and
wanna
it is.
spoil
It's like
anything.
it's one of those movies. The first time you see it, you don't get the you don't get exactly why like things are painted to be worse than they seem,
Yeah,
and then yeah, when the full story is revealed, it is horrible and traumatic, and you feel sorry for Sumi and her sister and mother.
yeah.
The father, I think, obviously was a bit of a shitheel, and his assistant was a cunt.
Yeah, absolutely terrible.
Like, you don't just walk away from a suffocating child. Like,
no, it's rough.
um,
But yes, it is technically marvelous. It's a gorgeous film.
yeah,
The plot is brilliant. It's brilliantly told.
yeah,
And it is creepifying as well. Dark Water, I do like. I think it is creepy. I think the kid is creepy. The fact that you never really get a good look at the kid's eyes is so deliberate and makes her so much more like the ghost child is so much more frightening. The end, not the very, very end, but the sort of the climax of the dealing with the ghost part, I think is creepy.
yeah,
The fact that whenever they do show the kid, I think it looks really like a corpse that's been floating in water for a year and a half.
yeah.
You know, and that's horrible. The very end of it is a bit too saccharine, I think.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I like the idea of her going back and finding her mother.
It
But
could have
the
done
way
without
she
that.
acts, the way she behaves is a little bit too subdued.
Yeah.
When she meets her mother again when she's a teenager. She's a bit like, oh, great, you're here. It's like that. It's not, oh my God. What the fuck? She doesn't do that. She goes, oh, it's you. Yay. We can be a family again. But she's not even like, yay, we can be a family again. She's like, it's so subdued, and then sits down at the table and has tea. And I was just being like, this doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of her going back and exploring the building again as a teenager, and it's still being haunted.
Yeah.
But the way the mother interaction works is just a bit of a damp squib for me.
Yeah. I think it should have just ended. Like it shouldn't have went into
I
that
think
kind
maybe
of future.
For me, she should have been horribly killed by the ghost. And
Yeah,
then
actually,
have the whole
that
sacrifice of her mother be rendered pointless. You know?
That ghost doesn't kill anyone
No, it
at all.
doesn't.
There's no deaths really, apart from who becomes the ghost, and well, technically the mother, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, she seems to be a ghost.
Yeah, but that's
At the
almost by
end.
choice. She kind of goes,
Yeah.
"No, I'm going to stay and look after this weird ghost kid or something."
Yeah,
I don't
but
really know.
I think she stays because it seems like the ghost kid is after the daughter.
Yeah,
I think she's like, no, I'll stay here and be your mother if you leave my daughter alone. So that's why she sacrifices herself, which is all well and good. But again, like, I think that should have been a lot more dramatic and grim at the very end. But yeah, there's something about the death of the child in that one that really creeps me out in a way that is lasting.
yeah,
Now, as far as The Grudge goes, I think The Grudge is very good.
Grudge is very good.
I think The Curse is maybe better, the film that preceded it.
Yeah, I'll need to rewatch that one actually. This one was picked because this is the big one. This is the one that really kind of, well, as we said, like, you know, this and Ringu were the big things at the time that were like.
Would you call them crossover hits?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, the crossover hit. This one. This is the one that showed up. This is the one I was able to like walk into my local movie store place and be like, oh, there it is. You know, they didn't have Ju-on the Curse there as well.
I actually think
they had this one.
Earlier when I said the G horror, I think it's because I was looking at the Grudge. Whenever,
the G for
when
Grudge.
I said that, I just realized, it's like, is that why I said G? Because I was just one of those like subliminal message things where the big G just kind of got in my head. But
the big G got in your head.
Big G got in my head. I hope so, or else I just have lost the ability to spell.
Indeed. Well, that's also a possibility. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to pick one, obviously we've picked A Tale of Two Sisters. Yeah. The Grudge is really good. I also do like Dark Water. Again, it's got pacing issues, but I still think it's really good. Don't watch any of the remakes, I guess.
No.
These are all better than the films that were remakes of them.
Yeah.
So if you're going to watch them, watch these. Unless you've got some extreme aversion to reading subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, there, if you have, like, a problem reading subtitles, which some people do, then, yeah, just maybe check. Although, saying that, the American Grudge, which is the better out of the 3 remakes, still has subtitles, so just has less of them.
It does. There's still Japanese dialogue in it that is subtitled.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sure, you know, there's not as much of it, if that's a concern for you. All these films are good, but yes, absolutely, A Tale of Two Sisters is, I think, a masterpiece of filmmaking in general, and I love it. But John, which of these 3 movies is the best advice for dealing with being haunted?
They're all pretty. They're all pretty terrible.
None of them really solve shit.
No. The Grudge, definitely not. The Grudge is just like, that ghost does what the fuck it wants. If it wants you dead.
That shit is forever. Like, that shit is forever.
Yep,
that
like
follows
herpes.
You around. That follows you indeed.
It's the ghost equivalent of herpes.
Yeah, that follows you around until you're dead. And if you watch something like, say, The Curse or whatever, even the people killed by it seem to sort of become involved in it, like the ghosts of them.
Even in The Grudge, you have the is it brother-in-law who, like,
he
he's
shows up
on the
at
door.
her door.
And then when she opens it, no one's there, and then that's when you get the Grudge ghost follows her in, hides in the sheets and all that,
or whatever happens there.
Which I think's a brilliant visual.
The door? Did she need to open the door to let it in? Is that why it got her to open the door?
It kind of almost implies that there's a lot of, like, kind of nonsense that when you think too heavily into it, but the ghost has its own kind of logic, or maybe it just likes to kind of. No, it feels kind of vindictive, like it just likes to fuck with you before it kind of ultimately drags you to nowhere or whatever it does. Yeah,
like Dark Water, the solution is to mother the ghost.
Yeah.
In some way, some act as a parent to the ghost, which
you can just grind the child ghost, and then there you go.
John, you're a genius.
Yep.
Act in a parental manner. Stop throwing them cups around, or you can't go out to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that probably worked.
Well,
it's hard to know. See, the thing is, it's hard to know what's worked.
Yeah.
Because maybe later we'll get home and I'll be eaten by a thing in the sheets.
Yeah, you know. That's just
Who
life,
knows?
isn't it?
That's just life. So we've done our best. We grounded the ghost and we'll leave the caravan.
Yeah.
Until the ghost's not allowed to leave the caravan because they're grounded. I said so.
Yeah.
Tough luck.
I'm putting my foot down.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh, yep. The foot's going down. The foot's going down. There you go. Now you've done it. See? Very fatherly of you there,
yep.
Just the foot's going down.
The foot's going down. Right, grab everything and run.
Right, yes, absolutely. So, right now that we've solved that solution, and fuck caravans, I hate them. No, we are on
Maybe
Twitter.
We should burn the caravan as well.
Absolutely, let's burn the caravan just to be safe. Good idea. Just to be Molotov on there. We are on Twitter. We are at 7dayapocalypse. That is at numeral 7 the apocalypse. You can email us on filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. That is filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. gmail.com. We're also on YouTube, etc. We play adventure games. We'll hopefully get some of those knocked out again.
We've
soon.
been very busy this winter.
We finished Discworld, but we haven't got to Discworld 2 yet. But hopefully we will
Maybe
soon.
sometime soon.
Very soon. And I guess that's it, John. Dispel the curse. Foot down. Put your foot down. Go on.
Set fire to the caravan. You can't haunt a house that isn't there.
You can't haunt a house that isn't there. The best advice. Bye.
Bye.